Anyway, I was saying that different people had their favorites, and then everybody had the things they didn't like. Fruit um, cake was one of the things that very few people liked. If you happened to like it, it was easy to acquire a lot of it because people were very happy to trade theirs for anything, or some people just gave it away. Uh, I was somewhat fond of the bone chicken, which was just like a chicken that you would buy in a can today. Other things that were easy were some slices of ham, and then you had crackers, and you could make a somewhat substitute ham sandwich out of that. One of the ad hoc desserts that was popular was to take the round disc of chocolate that came in the candy or in the one of the rations. It was called a John Wayne candy bar, and you put that between two crackers and added a little peanut butter, and it was often referred to as a John Wayne sandwich. And but the rations were pretty bland, and every so often, if you were out with the maneuver elements, they would try to fly a hot meal out about every 3 or 4 days if you were pretty stationary. But it was almost always the same thing. It was Australian roast beef, green beans, and mashed potatoes. But that was so much better than what we ate out of the can that we were always glad to see it. So nothing fancy, no gourmet meals. Mother used to send me a lot of hot sauce in her little care packages, so you'd use that to doctor up whatever you had.
So how often did you receive packages and mail and stuff like that?
Oh, Mother was pretty good about sending things to me. I would get something probably every few weeks or every month at the latest. At Christmas time, she even sent me a small artificial Christmas tree, and we had that up in our bunker. So she was very good about sending things.
So let me think here. What was it like leaving Vietnam? I mean,
well, it was. I left just prior to the big drawdown and pullout. In fact, my organization, a few months after I left, the whole unit was withdrawn. But it was exciting to go home, and it wasn't the sort of thing that you dreaded leaving. In fact, if any emotion comes to mind, it would probably be relief or maybe a little bit of joy and happiness about putting it behind you.
so did you have anybody to come home to, or?
I didn't really have a significant girlfriend at that time, so when I came back, I, like so many GIs, took a little road trip. I went and bought an automobile and drove around the country to see it, as much of it as I could for several months. Basically, I guess until the money ran down enough where I felt I had to get a job.
Oh, okay.
So that was kind of the post-Vietnam road trip, I guess, is what you'd call that.
So how much money did you get out of being over there?
Well, I didn't re-enlist or get any bonuses. Bonuses were not like they are in today's Army. They're not real generous. And our salaries were modest. I think I was an E5, and I probably made about $400 a month, but was able to save almost all of it, and you had very little reason to spend money. So I probably had $6,000 or $7,000 when I came home, which in 1971 was a good amount of money. But no one got rich.
Yeah. So where did you live at the time?
Well, when I came back, I went to Florida, which is where my mother was at. Stayed there long enough to buy an automobile and went to see parts of the country that I hadn't been to before. Went up along the Canadian border, up around Minnesota and the Thousand Lakes area, and down into Texas and the Rio Grande country, and just basically traveled on a whim for a good while.
That's cool. So, let's see, is there anything else that you think is significant that?
Oh, of course, later on I went back in the military and served many years after that, but that's a pretty good summary of the Vietnam experience. After so many years, I'm sure there's omissions and things like that, but it was just part of my formative years in my early 20s. So I think that probably includes the Vietnam experience from my perspective.
If you had a chance to do it again, like if you could go back in time and make the choice again, would you choose to do that?
I don't think I would have many changes in my life, period. And at the time, knowing what I did then and even knowing what I did now, perhaps the only thing I would have done differently was try to go a little sooner than I did.
So you would say that you had a very, like, it was a positive impact on your life?
I didn't know that at the time, but in the long run, I think yes.
Now, you had a story associated with a bullet that was upstairs. What was that?
Oh, the urban legend at that time was if you shot someone that was pointing a weapon at you and you recovered the bullet that it wasn't fired, that was like having the one with your name on it. And if you kept that bullet, it was considered good luck. It's like you weren't going to be shot, so to speak. And so during a firefight near Cantienne, I had the unusual experience of facing an individual who was pointing at me, and I was fortunate enough to shoot first and able to go and eject the round from his AK-47, and I carried it in my pocket for the rest of the time I was there, believing that urban legend of good luck, and retain it to this day. It's in a little case up on the wall upstairs.
Well, that's quite a story. I'm sure there's not very many people that can say that they have that.
Many of the lucky ones maybe, but we had a lot of strange beliefs in those days, looking back on it, but we, anything for good luck or a good charm, we were a fairly superstitious lot.
So, would you have any advice to offer anybody that was thinking about enlisting or anything like that?
Oh, follow your heart and choose wisely, and don't second guess yourself.
Well, is there anything else you want to say?
I think that's probably a fair place to stop at this point.
Okay. All right.